I'm Doug Massey, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Check this out. I decided to reach out to Lincoln Heritage just to see what kind of contract commission level that they would actually offer moi. And you might just be surprised as to, basically what they did, what they actually offered me. With that being said, we're going to talk about 5 things. 1, what commission level did they actually offer me? 2, what will it take for me to be able to increase that commission to the next level? 3, what's the cap? What's the maximum commission level that I will ever be able to see if I were to join Lincoln Heritage? Number 4, of course, we're going to share my opinion, and basically what I'm going to talk about in this video is whether I believe success is doable or not, and or even whether, the commission levels that they're offering is ethical or not. And again, you might be surprised about my answer. And number 5, we're going to talk about who I think, the type of agent that I believe should actually consider working with Lincoln Heritage. And at the end of the video, we're going to end on what I believe to be a huge pro. So let's start with giving the video a thumbs up, and I do recommend subscribing if you're new. We're putting out new insurance content and final expense sales training videos just like this all the time. And if you stick around until the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get the new updated carrier niche sheet of 2024. And the cool thing about this is it actually has my 9 favorite carriers, and it mentions like the main niche of each carrier product. And I have to put out a disclaimer. In no way is this video designed to defame, to harm, or even to put Lincoln Heritage in a negative light. This video is 100% for informational purposes only. All right, so the way it all started is I'm on Facebook. Lincoln Heritage keeps showing me this ad. It just kept showing up on my Facebook feed, that they're hiring. And so what I did was I filled out the form. Now, let me mention a couple of points that were on the ad. Let me just kind of read this. I put notes aside. In the ad, it did say that they are the best in the business and that they have led the final expense industry for 50 years. And guys, when I reached out to them, I filled out the form, and the way it worked is a secretary or an assistant called me, set an appointment for a couple days later for the owner, actually one of the owners of the company, of the agency down in this part of South Florida, and I spoke with him. That was the guy that I ended up speaking with. When I spoke with him, I didn't say, hey, I'm Doug Massey, I got this YouTube presence, I've been selling final expense for years and years, I sold at a super high level. I didn't say any of that. I got an agency, I didn't mention that. What I did mention was a couple of key things, and this to me, it's important. So what I told him was, 1, that I used to be a top producing life insurance agent back when I was with the Hartford, which is true. 2, I did mention that I have sold final expense in the past, but it's been a couple of years, and this is true. It's been a couple of years since I actually sold any insurance. And 3, I did mention that I didn't need to use their leads. I wanted nothing to do with it because I'm able to generate my own appointments, and a lot of them too. And I didn't mention that I actually interviewed at his office about 12 years ago, before I started my final expense career, believe it or not. And I didn't mention that back then, they offered me 55% first year commission. So what did they offer me this time? 80% commission level. Okay, and that's for the level final expense plan, and we can pull this up. If the client is 0 to 80 years old and they are using a checking account for the bank draft. Now, I thought this was weird. They only are going to pay 60% for that level coverage if the client uses a savings account, and that's different. I've never heard of anything like that. To me, that's just not a good reason to lower your commission. Now, they did say that it was 40%, just like it says here, very transparent, first year commission if the client is paying with a direct express card, a debit card or a credit card. Now, if the prospect qualifies for modified, so they don't get level coverage, then it's only going to pay 60% maximum commission, 0 to 80 years old. And for people 80 to 85 years old, it pays 40% across the board. All right, that was the first point. The second point, in order to get an additional 5 points added to my contract, in other words, to go from 80% to 85%, Well, let's just read from the guidelines here. I've got it right here, okay? And we're gonna show you this. We're gonna pull this up while I'm reading it to you. Agency promotional guidelines. Promotions are based on the following. Persistence, 78%. First year or 7th month, whichever is lower. You can't have 77% persistence. Got to be at least 78 or higher. Otherwise, you're stuck at 80%. NTO, not takens, 10%. So the maximum of not takens, of sales that you made where the client actually doesn't take the policy, the maximum can be 1 out of every 10. And this I thought was weird. You've got to attend and create meetings, conference calls, company-related events, trainings, seminars, and workshops. That's a first. It is in the guidelines right there. You can see it. So let's keep reading along. Agent personal production guidelines. Agent cannot manage a team at the below 80 to 85% levels. So it says it right there. They start all new agents with 80%, and you can get up to 85% if you write 10,000 monthly AP for 1 year or 120K average AP for 1 year. So in other words, it doesn't have to be, 10K a month. You can have months where you write 0, but at the end of the year, wow, I just realized, so I have to wait a year. I have to go 1 year before they'll even bump me up 5 points, no matter what, according to the guidelines. I got a feeling there's some flexibility, I would think, but that's what the guideline says. We're just reading what the owner of the company actually sent me. MGA, Agency Production Guidelines, Managing General Agency. Now, let me be a little more transparent here. I probably could have, I don't know, gotten this 90% if I told him who I was. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he would have wanted nothing to do with me. We want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But it does say 90%, 50,000 monthly AP for 3 consecutive months. Okay. Potential manager can only contribute 20K max in production toward team numbers. So the team has to be producing a majority of that business. And it says 5 producing agents. So I'm assuming you have to have 5 producing agents. Usually it's just about production. It's not about how big your team is or how many agents you have, but it says right there, 5 producing agents. 95%, 100K monthly AP for 3 consecutive months with 10 agents? Maybe up to 10 agents? I don't know. 100%, 125K monthly AP for 2 consecutive months, and also says 10 agents. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that. And then you've got 105%, 225K monthly AP for 2 consecutive months with 20 agents. So this is where, when I see that 105% number, we start our agents at 105 to 110. If you were selling remotely on our tele-platform, or even if you were selling face-to-face, the commission levels we're going to start you at are going to be, at least 2 to 3 carriers are going to be 110%. Some of them are going to be 105, some of them are going to be 100%. So I do find it interesting that they max out where we start and where more other agencies actually start there. So kind of interesting. Let's read this part where it says, note, all agents start at 80% contract level. All MGAs start at a 90% contract level. Okay, so, even if the production's huge right from the start, they're still going to put you at 90. So they're not going to jump you up too high. Right? Okay, all right, I get that. Now, if an MGA loses their title as an MGA due to production, they will not automatically lose their team. Oh, that's nice. You're not going to take my team from me. Well, what's this other one say? If an MGA chooses to get appointed with other insurance carriers. Okay, so they say they're not captive. So my situation, I'm not using their leads, so I don't need their lead financing. I don't need their leads. They say I'm not captive. I'm being paid as an independent agent. However, let me read that one more time. If an MGA chooses to get appointed with other insurance carriers and or become a broker, that MGA will lose their MGA title as well as their team. So if I'm reading this right, they're going to take the agents that I recruited from me if I decide to contract outside of them. Interesting. And I would assume there may be some flexibility depending on the arrangement that, I were to make with them if I were to have gone and worked with them. But it says it right there. So flexibility or not, I don't know. I'm just reading the guidelines here. So that answers number 3, the cap. The maximum commission level that I could ever have with them is 105%. I'd have to have a team of at least 5 agents, and I'd have to be producing a minimum of $225K monthly AP for at least 2 consecutive months to get that. And it says 20 agents. I don't know if that means up to 20 agents or you want to have 20 agents. I'm not sure where that has to come into play, but I do think that's a little strange. All right, so number 4, my opinion, the best part. All right, look, the negative is the obvious. The commission levels are low. Is this ethical? Are they unethically low? Well, back when they offered me the 55%, 100%, that to me was just not cool. That was the shadiest thing that I'd ever heard of in my life, especially because when I went to them, I took proof that I was a top producer the year before at the Hartford, that I had experience in sales, and that I was a talented professional closer. So that 55% was a real smack in the face. And I remember leaving their office. I was a little aggravated. I was a little upset. I felt like they wasted my time. Like, how dare you offer me such a horribly low commission? Now, the 80%, as a field agent, you can get commissions pretty much anywhere around 100, 110% with multiple products, which means at the end of the day, if you have multiple products, you're going to be able to get more people first day coverage as a professional, assuming you know how to do this as an independent agent. More people first day coverage, you're going to get higher commission, and at the end of the day, I feel like you're doing better for your client. And that's just the truth. You know, whether these guys are, let me read this again or not, the best in the business or not, or whether they have led the final expense industry for 50 years or not. I don't know. Who's to say? I kind of feel like when your commission's capped, well, it's not really. It starts at that 80% level. Let's put it that way. When it starts at that level, even if you're producing at a very high level, you're not going to make a lot. You're not going to earn 6 figures. You're not going to make $100,000 a year on an 80% contract with a company like this. Now, hold on. Not likely. There's always that special person, right? There's always that one special person, and maybe if you're that person, you can do that. But I would think the better agents would be making around 50, 60K. I have nothing to base this off of other than common sense and my 10 years of experience as being an agency owner specializing in final expense sales. All right, remember, I told you at the beginning of the video, we're gonna end with a pro. The one thing that I really do like about Lincoln Heritage is that they have the lead financing. This is huge. Now, assuming these aren't age leads and assuming that they're getting you leads that are exclusive. So I don't know what happens with the lead if it isn't sold in 90 days, if it goes to another agent. I don't know how that works with them. I've heard different things. I think it depends on the agency. So to me, if it's an actual exclusive lead and they're gonna finance it for me at 80%, and this is important, who would benefit this? A new agent. To me, that kind of makes sense. That's fair because they're going to give you the training, right? You're going to be in their office getting training. You're hopefully going to do ride-alongs. The agency that I was speaking with down in Florida, in Davie, I'm pretty sure they specialize in face-to-face sales. That's what I was told, at least. I get the idea that if that's the case, then yeah. If they're, exclusive direct mail leads or even their TV leads at 80%, if you're a new agent, that's not a bad deal to get through the learning curve. Now, what I don't like is what it takes to go up. To me, that's the fail. So if I was a new agent, what I'd end up doing is working with them, getting the training, learn, try to save some money, right? They're gonna finance the leads for me, and then leave. Basically, that's what I would do. I feel like I'd have no choice. Another thing is their vesting is in 2 years. So you don't get the back end money, you don't get the renewals. The renewals are like not even worth mentioning anyways, but you don't get any of that if you don't stick around with them for at least 2 years. And of course, there's that big negative thing. If you do become, what they're referring to as a managing general agent and you have a team, in the event where you try to leave them, you're gonna lose your team. And I've actually, so here's the interesting part. part. I actually met one of their agents a few years ago and said, why don't you come work with us? He said, dude, I've got a bunch of agents. They're making a big bulk of my income, and I'm afraid to leave because if I leave, they're gone too. And that wasn't cool. When I realized, yeah, that's the case. That's the case with a lot of agents and a lot of agencies. That's just how they run the business. And when it comes down to it, guys, even a new agent who does their due diligence can find commission levels, 110, even higher, even around 120% with certain products. Those are usually not the best products, but you can. Again, like us, we've got agents that have been with us for years that have those type of commission levels, and it doesn't take that long to get there. One of the things that we do at our agency is we want to give you a reason to stay. So yeah, we're going to give you commission bumps with production if you're a full-time agent without having to kill yourself either. And you don't have to give up 20 to 27% of your commission levels, which is basically the math that I did if you were to go with this agency down in South Florida. That's about what you'd be giving up. I mean, imagine, being a cook and you've got Burger King on the right, you've got McDonald's across the street, and one is going to pay you 30% more than the other. Well, you know where you're going, right? It's common sense. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. If you'd like a copy of that new 2024 carrier niche sheet, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. For more information about our remote final expense sales platform, just shoot me an email at that same address. As always, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now get out there or get on that phone, get your headset on. Whatever you do, make sure that you do something good for someone else today. Happy hunting.